Hey teacher friend, welcome back to my channel. My name's Molly and I'm a 5th grade teacher who helps other teachers just like you transform your literacy block so you can spend more time teaching and less time prepping. Today's video, I'm going to teach you how to use Daily 5 in kindergarten. This video has been very much anticipated because I released a series on TikTok where my handle is the same, Literacy Fundamentals, and I had so many questions about how to do Daily 5 in kindergarten and first grade. Great news for you if you've been wondering the same thing. I've done that for years in kindergarten and both first grade, and now I'm switching to 5th. So I really feel like I can speak to the wide array of ages that can do the same Daily 5 system. The difference is going to be the activities you choose, and that's pretty much about it. So let's dive right into how you can use Daily 5 in kindergarten. Okay, the first thing I want to say is that Daily 5 is about how you structure your literacy time. I had some people coming in hot in the comments over on TikTok about the science of reading and other types of interventions, and that's not what Daily 5 is. So if you are very unaware of what it is, that's okay. It is a way to structure your literacy time. And if you're having a hard time getting to all your reading groups, then I definitely recommend giving this a try. You can teach your reading groups however you've been trained. So if you're a science of reading person, if you're a Title I reading interventionist, it doesn't matter the how, this is the structure. So bear with me and I'm going to get to all the points that you want to know of how to make it work in kindergarten. Just know that it can work just as well in kindergarten as it can in 5th grade. And a lot of people get intimidated by trying to get to reading groups in kindergarten, but I'm telling you, by October every year I had this up and running. That's also the expectation in my school district, is that you start reading groups in kindergarten. Whether I agree with that or not, that's not for this video to say, but I will say that I was doing it and this is how I survived, especially in a Title I school with 24 to 25 kindergartners at a time. Okay, so we've already talked about how it's a great way to structure your literacy time, and the other reason I love it is because it creates independence. And I don't know about you, but I can't get to all my reading groups if I have kids off task, walking around the room, getting into things they're not supposed to be doing, leaving the room. Daily 5 is a great way to structure so that your kindergartners know what to expect, and setting it up from day one when you get going with learning how to do read to self is where I would start. So that's always where I start, is with read to self. And I use a building stamina chart for this. And you can also find that inside my TPT store if you want to see how I do it or use it yourself. And our goal is always to get to 15 minutes at the beginning of the school year of sustained silent reading, which you have to teach your kindergartners how to read the pictures, read the words, retell the story. I also have that as a free poster inside of my TPT store if you want to grab that. And it's just a really great way to show them that although they might not be reading words yet, they can still read a book by looking at the pictures and retelling the story. And we want them looking for those sight words, no excuse words, whatever you call them, because they can learn how to sustain reading even in kindergarten. I'm telling you, they can do it. You just have to model it for them and have high expectations. And every time somebody starts talking, you start the timer over again and you just keep building your stamina until they hit that 15-minute mark. So that's where I always start, is with read to self. So you might be wondering what the other rotations are in kindergarten. Word work is another one. I have a lot of activities for that, especially kindergarten age inside of my TPT store. That's probably the one you're going to switch out the most. So different activities that go along with what they're doing in their book group with you, and puzzles, games that all pertain to the skills that they're learning in small group reading time. Maybe they're doing it in whole group reading too, depending on the type of phonics or reading instruction that you're giving as a whole group. So read to self, word work. Next is listen to reading. This is where they might have an iPad. Back in the day, it was a cassette tape player and they had a book to follow along. Now we can have kids reading on Epic or other apps that are approved by you. You just have to make sure they understand the rules of the iPad. And there's even some really cool technology pieces that you can have your students' iPads linked to yours, and you can check to see what they're on. And if they're on something they're not supposed to be, then you can lock them out. And even kindergartners will try to get away with that. But again, setting your expectations high and following through. Okay, after listen to reading, we're going to do work on writing. And that is just learning how to have free writing time in your journal. Maybe you might have them do something like a write the room situation. They might have sentences they have to copy down and then they can do free writing. That all depends on what you want to teach. So I'm not getting into the what of the stations, just what the stations are, and how you want to execute them is up to you. And then last but not least is book group. So they may or may not have that station every day, depending on how many times a week they need to meet with you. So it just depends on if they're a higher level reader, however you do reading groups. Again, I'm not here to teach you how to teach reading. This is how to structure your literacy time. So just to recap that, we have read to self, we have word work, work on writing, listen to reading, and book club, book group, whatever you call it. Okay, so with that, you have to set those expectations every day. I have 5 expectations I do no matter what grade level I'm teaching. We review them every day with whole brain teaching. So I also have that chart inside of my TPT store because I think it's really important to have it visual somewhere. We're going over it every day. They are to get started right away, stay in one spot, level 0, work the whole time, and build their stamina. And you will find that if you go over those every day, then it's crystal clear what the expectations are and you won't have as many interruptions, if any. And I'm telling you, even kids that have a hard time focusing can get this done as long as your stations are 15 to no longer than 20 minutes, especially in kindergarten. All right, so set those daily 5 expectations every day, and you will be convinced that Daily 5 is what you needed. I do recommend getting the Daily 5 book because I think you can really follow it from the beginning to help you make those anchor charts and talk about it with your students. It's really a guidebook for you. I'll leave a link in the description box below if you want to check the book out. It's fairly inexpensive and it's been the best teaching resource I've ever bought. I love that book and I reference it every year because of course I don't have everything memorized. I'll also leave in the description box below the resources I mentioned that you can use in your own classroom that I use in mine, the stamina chart, expectation chart, and all of the Daily 5 resources that I have that are pretty inexpensive and key to helping you set those expectations and maintaining them all year round. The best piece of advice I can give you is to stick with what you say you're going to do and build stamina for Daily 5, and just know that your kindergartners can do it too. Let me know if you're going to try Daily 5 in your kindergarten classroom. I'd love to hear how it goes for you, and be sure to leave any questions that you have for me in the comments below, and I'd love to hear how everything's going as school begins. Thanks so much for watching, and just remember that you're not in this alone, and if you ever need help with teaching your reading block, that's what I love to help teachers with, and you can grab my free 10-step guide, How to Transform Your Literacy Block, and I'll leave that below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.